Okay, guys, let's get into first.
There is a movement promoting our stories, and many of us grew up with a strong craving for images we can relate to. Production teams, writers, creative heads have come together to tell stories, and this podcast is their voice. The themes covered are very relevant to the Black community, and anyone concerned by the social and racial injustices that are in place to stifle this voice. The Pan-African voice is not easily heard, and here we talk about our movies, that film or doc which you heard about but didn't get to see. What was the story? Where can I watch it? It now has a voice. Tune in. We walk you through these stories and interview the filmmakers. Welcome. Karibu sana. Karibu sana.
And starting right on the lens. Ready and action.
Here we go. So this is another edition of the Pan-African Film Podcast. And super excited today because we are hosting Charles Uwagbai. So pleasure to have you here. Co-hosted with Oba again today, and she's dialing in from Milan in Italy. Charles, you're out in is it Toronto, Canada?
Yes, exactly.
We're here to talk about one of your films, Kipkemboi. It's your feature and was released in 2023. Quickly introduce it, like it's basically a family film, which is what I love I personally love about it. It's also a coming of age, and also kind of a romance, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit in there.
Right? But it's an interesting story because right before you joined us, I want to be frank, Uba and I were talking about who wrote the story. And I actually just looked it up before you joined. And how did you get it to meet the writer?
The writer, okay. So the writer is a friend of mine, Joe. His name is Joe.
Yeah,
And Joe Richardson. So Joe says as a child, he ran away from home and he met up with this Kenyan friend who was an Olympian at the time because he was a runner as well. So he would go to Kenya and spend holidays and a time in Kenya for a while. And he continued to do this over the years. Maybe over 25 to 30 years, he's been going to Kenya after that first experience. And somehow he made a family, like Kenya, the village where this guy is from, a home. And he wanted to like give back to that place. So he started to write a script. He had traveled there with his wife, and they got married in that village. And he went there with a producer friend of his, and they said, "Oh, we're going to do a film, and we're going to showcase this village." And they started to write a script, and they'd written the script, but they didn't have a director to work on the project. So I met the producers at another event. I did a short film, and while I was making that film, they came on the set and they sat by the side and just watched me do my thing. After that, they emailed me and said, "We have a script. We don't know if you would like to be a part of it." I said, "Can I read it?" They sent me the script. I read it, and I fell in love with it as well. So we did go back and made a few adjustments to what they'd written. Took about a year or a couple months after that meeting before we finally made the film. But yes, it's more, the story started from Joe.
That's interesting. But it was filmed in Kenya, is that right?
It was filmed in Kenya and in Canada. So if you see the film, a lot of the interiors were shot in Canada and all the exteriors obviously were shot in Kenya. But most of the interiors were shot in Canada. The interior of the hut, the mud hut, interior of during the chase when they ran into like a small place, it was all Canada.
The
Um,
hotel?
the hotel was in Canada. The internet cafe was in Canada. Like
Wow.
just a lot of it were in Canada. So
You could
it
have
was
fooled
interesting.
me. You could have fooled me because I thought everything was
Yeah,
in Kenya.
yeah. I think because we part of the funding for the film needed the spending to be done in Canada. Part of the money that was raised to shoot the film, so we had to find ways to um, strike a balance so that um, part of that money raised in Canada will be spent in Canada to keep the fulfillment on the funding for the film. So that was the first challenge that we had. If you ask me, I'd have loved to make the whole film in Kenya, but we were restricted because of how we're supposed to spend the money. Yep. Um, the actors as well. We use a lot of Kenyan actors, but the two leads, they're both Canadian. Chipchir and Kipkemboi himself, and they're both Canadians. And we flew them to Kenya. They had to learn the accent. They had to learn how to speak like that. There was a lot of rehearsals, and they had a dialect coach who would meet with them over Zoom. And when we went to Kenya as well, they sat down with them. We went to the village. They just tried to like rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And, the rest was magic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When you find out, behind the scenes how it actually played out.
Hmm.
But we jumped into Kipkemboi really like because it was such a beautiful film to watch. Um,
Yeah.
we highly recommend it, obviously not just because it's your film, but it was really a pleasure to watch. Like Uba was saying earlier, there's so many different layers to the story.
Yes.
And before we go into that, because there's so much,
Okay.
I did want to just introduce you and gently
Aha.
welcome you to the podcast, Charles.
Yeah.
More broadly and to our like for our audience in your own words about your career, your background. But if you want, also specifically on Keep and Boy, like your main objective in making it.
Okay. I could just talk a little bit about myself.
Mhm.
So I was born and raised in Nigeria. Um, I moved to Canada not too long ago. I usually I travel abroad. I come to Canada as well, but I moved fully to Canada in 2020. I got married in Canada in 2019, and I moved back to Nigeria with my wife to try to start a family. And then COVID happened, and then after COVID, she came back because she was pregnant. She came back to Canada to spend time with her mom, and I was in Nigeria. But when COVID happened, the borders were shut. I couldn't travel. At that point, I just decided that I have to move fully to Canada because I want to be with family. Now we're expecting a baby and all of that. So as soon as I had the opportunity to travel, I moved to Canada, and I've been here spending more time here in Canada now. Um, I started out with doing Nollywood films, so I have quite a number of Nollywood films under my belt. Um, but right now, I spend more time here and just doing the most I can, you know, like every other filmmaker. Um, is there anything you want to know?
That was beautiful. Like if you
Yeah,
wanted into more specifically like Kip
keep
Kemboi,
Kipkemboi. Mm.
what motivated you specifically, like when you were approached about the project, what was your main objective in taking it on?
Okay, one thing I liked about this script was the fact that a lot of times when we hear or read African stories, they always like focus on the negative things in Africa, the wars, the hunger, the poverty, and they leave out all the brilliance in Africa. So what this script did for me was basically, for the first time, I was reading something really positive and showing African and Africans like as brilliant, as intelligent, as smart. And I just felt like this could be something to um, give hope to the younger generation and to kind of inspire them, to give them that the push and the kick. So if you watch a film as a young person in Africa, you'd see that this our lead character is from a small village, like a very he doesn't live in New York, but he doesn't even live in the big city of Nairobi. To him, Nairobi itself is a destination that they aspire to go to. So I just felt like it would inspire the young person out there living in a rural place, or just anybody to know that you can be anything you want to be, you can achieve anything you want to achieve. It doesn't matter where you're from. And that kind of, made me think that this will be a good film if we do it properly, if we use the right cast, and if we sell the message well. Another thing I liked about the story was how the characters, in terms of the female characters, played out. I grew up, spending most time with my mom, and understand the power and influence of women over the lives of children and family and community. And what the story also did was that it showcased, the women in a very supportive but very strong way. You can see that Kipkemboi wouldn't have achieved what he achieved in the film without the help of Chipche. And also see how it played out the mothers in the story. Chipche's mom and even Kipkemboi's mom, they were like a very strong force, very protective and nurturing way, and also had a way of just pushing the characters forward without overly exacting too much force. And so those things that kind of made the story really warm in my heart, and I was like, I'm really going to do this film, and I'm going to do it the way that I know, how it should be told. Fortunately, the producer and the writer are white skins, so they probably, as much as they know Africa and all of that, they still wouldn't understand what it feels like to be an African, growing up in Africa, and understanding how motherhood means to the children. And the way they raise kids here is different from the way they raise kids in Nigeria or in Kenya or any part of Africa. The way they sing, the music, what the music does for them, those little things that the black, if you know how your mom will look at you and you just know that means get out of this place, without saying a word, those things. And I also try to show the same energy with Chipche, his best friend, and how she relates with him, and how she gives him the strength, and she kind of pushes him to be who he became eventually. So those things that kind of made it's just a warm, beautiful story. Thirdly is basically how the power shift happened without making the Black community the enemy. They found ways to support each other, and in the end, you see that they all rallied round to make sure that he's safe and he's, basically. So those things kind of made the story really warm for me, and I really wanted to do it.
Life is not always a straight line, my boy. When one door closes,
Another one opens.
I think that you're a genius. Start thinking like one. Is it about making money?
The money just proves that the math is correct.
And it's legal?
Totally legal. Just like the American dream. See it all so clearly. It's how the entire international monetary system works.
Let me guess. The rich get richer.
People have no idea that a man who owns nothing can make more money than a king.
10 million shillings?
I can finally help everybody. If this is how the rest of the world makes money, how can we even compete? Not even playing the same game.
I'm worried something bad is going to happen.
People are going to wonder how you got the money to build this tower.
There's some trading happening there that we've never seen before.
Is that a problem?
We can make you extremely rich.
I'm already rich.
We got a boy to find.
It's a stupid equation. They came for it.
Must be quite the equation.
You can make more money than you could ever imagine.
What you have done is very important. Money is a weapon.
Shouldn't be.
We need to get a story out in the press right away. Say he's a terrorist.
Terrorists? I thought he was a genius.
The world is not fair. And if they think you are spoiling their dinner, they will crush you. You are in serious trouble, boy.
Give us the equation. The world is changing, and no one can stop it. Not even you.
Are you a terrorist or a mathematician?
Yeah, that's so amazing. I think Uba, he really brought up both of the two things we were saying we liked the most about the film.
Yeah.
Those were the main two things, you know,
The
the fact
social impact.
it was also, yeah, heartwarming family story, but then there was another like deeper meaning to it. And that's pretty much, yeah, the first question we had about, you know, what motivated you to make a story about a genius boy. I also was wondering, you know, how long the whole process took from when you agreed to take the project on. You said you mentioned about close to a year of just rewriting. Is that correct?
Yes, so I got the script maybe sometime in April, and then we made the film in December. We flew into Kenya in November. We shot about 12 days in. We spent some time in pre-production in Kenya, and then we shot about 12 days into December, and then we flew back to Canada for the holidays. And we came back to set, I think, on the maybe 3rd or so of January, and we filmed again for another week. It took about 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks for the whole filming, and then the post-production just went on for months afterwards. But for planning and reading and just prepping the script and drafting and redrafting and the casting, another very stressful moment was casting for the film because it took us a while I'd worked with Elsie before, the girl that played Chip. I've worked with her before on another project in a short film. And once I read the script and I started speaking I asked the producer, do you have someone in mind? He said, oh no, we don't have anybody, we're still trying to cast. I recommended her because I knew that she could play the part. And we had a challenge because she looked a bit older than the age that we wanted for it. So we had a hard time trying to get the guy. I remember we auditioned a lot of people. We got a lot of audition videos, but we just couldn't find the person. Then we found this one guy that done another film, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's on Netflix. And then I got excited. Yeah, and then when I saw the boy's video, he looked way older than he was when he did the film. And then I said no. And then we got another one guy it was just there. And then we just kept saying, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe this is who we'll work with. And then one day, an agent reached out and said, oh, I have someone for you guys. And then he was going to come physically to read because he said he was in Toronto. So we said, oh, let him just come. So I invited Elsie as well. And then we got into that room and immediately I saw him. I was like, this is the guy. He read, it was just amazing. The chemistry was there. And I just got so excited. I was like, let's hire this guy immediately. And the producers were like, it doesn't work like that. Hold on, we need to do some paperwork. We need to be sure that he's fit, he's in the union, and all of those details. But I just knew that this was the one. You know, as soon as they read together, you know, it was a beautiful experience for me, basically.
Right. I can imagine. And so you say the two leads, they were both cast in Canada?
In Canada, yes, it was cast in Canada.
Okay.
And we flew with them to Kenya to shoot.
And what was the percentage of the film that had to be filmed in Canada for the budget for the funding?
I think it was supposed to be like 30%, 30% outside spend and 70% Canada spend. That's what the rule says. So what we did was we got the producer, the director, the DP from here, the production designer, the writer, like some major credits, as well as the two leads to compensate for us making the film out in Kenya. Yeah. And as well as we had to shoot some things here. So we had to build the mud hut, the interior in a studio in Hamilton, and some of the sets as well. It was done in the studio, yeah.
So one last question for me, and then I'll hand over to Oba. It's just, the classic one we ask on this podcast is, what does Pan-Africanism mean to you as a notion, Pan-African?
What does Pan-Africanism? I feel like with what is happening right now in Africa, if you follow the stories of all the xenophobia attacks and stuff, I feel like Africa is supposed to be one big nation, and film as a movies as a medium is one way that we can really connect Africa together and make Africa unite to be that super nation that we're all dreaming about. So for me, Pan-African means that you're Black, you're from the roots, your roots are from Africa, and we should see ourselves as one big family and try to unite the nation, and then we can actually bring out the strength that these super nations that we all look at as the Western world, in quotes, and we can bring out that strength and bring out that unity and bring out the power and the greatness that Africa really has and deserves. A lot of us today would say, "Oh, I'm from Nigeria. I'm from this. I'm Black American and this and this," but we all basically have one root, which is Africa. And if we can embrace that root and just show strength, there will be no need for all the wars and all the fights and all the xenophobia attack, because Africa is blessed with all the natural resources, all the intelligent people. You find a lot of Black people doing great stuff. I'm here in Canada today making films, doing films that can go travel around, the world. There are people, medical doctors and nurses, and all the resources of gold and minerals and petroleum and all of that. We just need to look inwards and embrace it, and then show love to each other and just build a beautiful continent that we all can be proud of and say we're Black and Africans.
That's all true. I mean, it's perfectly what we think, and we're on the same page as well for what Pan-African means to all of us, whether we're in Africa, whether we're outside of the continent.
Yeah.
Having said that, first of all, I would like to congratulate you to have, because you won the award for the Directors Guild of Canada in 2024 for the best production, design, and the limited budget film. So on that note, can you just comment more on the film's budget and the production locations? Because you did mention Kenya, you're just going back and forth, Kenya and Canada.
Yeah, the two major locations were in Kenya. We shot some part of the film in Nairobi. Obviously, they drove to the big city, and the most of the film was shot in the village called Metipso on the highlands towards the Tanzanian border. The village is such a beautiful place because of it's really like they say that it's on the highland, and the runners would come to that place to train because the air in that place is kind of thin, and if you could run and practice in that place, when you now go to like a normal terrain, you'll be a lot better because you practice to the place with very thin air. It's in a county called Boringo County, And then, of course, the rest of the film was shot in a studio in Hamilton, in Ontario. For the budget, I think the budget of the film was maybe over a million, just over a million Canadian dollars. I don't know if we eventually spent up to that, but that was the original budget of the film. Yeah.
It was very limited, basically, compared to other films, maybe.
Yes, because they look at once a film is below $3.5 million, this is low budget. Even
Okay.
if so that's the way they think about it. And having to travel, like do a co-production between two countries on that budget, it's really limited. But I'm grateful for the film because it's traveled far, it's still traveling. And we also got a nomination at the NAACP Image Awards in Los Angeles, alongside with movies like Emilia Perez, and we're in the same category with this beautiful film. So I'm grateful to have been a part of the project, grateful to have been, and it's still traveling. Next week we're going to Korea, South Korea for the Korean Black African Korean Film Festival. It's happening in Busan. And the film is opening the festival as well. So it's a beautiful project to be a part of, and just keeps traveling and keeps giving us all the accolades.
That's wonderful. I have another question, if I may. There's a memorable quote that one of the characters, Simba, says in one part of the movie, and I love this question. She basically says that without money, there's no choice, and without no choice, there's
no true freedom.
No true freedom, exactly. And then there's also other parts of the movie where Kipkemboi also talks about money being a weapon and how it changes people. So with that point of view in mind, if you had all the money in the world, what is the first thing that you would do?
I think I would solve food problem, because a lot of the problem in Africa today originates from freedom, and like the film says, without money there can be no true freedom, and it tends down to poverty, and a lot of people living below the poverty line, and because of that, people would trade their resources. A hungry man would trade his natural resources just for food. Without knowing that he's giving him his stealing the biblical story now, it's porridge, giving you porridge for your birthright, so to speak, And I think I'll want to solve the food problem in Africa and all over the world, and healthcare, and just basic things. That would be what I would do if I was a billionaire and I had all the money in the world. I would solve food and hunger problem first. That would be my first, and then health, and then children and stuff, education for children and all.
Yeah, it's somewhat what your main character did in the end of the movie, Kipkemboi. That was his main. That was his main goal, exactly. Once he realized that he was changing, he was like, "Wait a minute, let's go back to the foundations of everyday life." So you're very much like your main character.
Sometimes we think like our characters when you write stuff. You begin to think like the character, because you're actually writing what you know.
Yeah, of course. What you've experienced or seen in first person. What did you learn making this film that you will carry on into your next project or your future projects, or whatever work that you're doing currently?
Okay, so behind the scenes of making this film, I think one of the experiences that I had was we somehow became a family, the crew. The DP and I had worked on other projects afterwards, and we were still like planning stuff. The production designer and I had also written another script together that we're hoping to get funding for and make in the future. And I just found that we can work so we can create a brotherhood, so to speak, create this love and create this family beyond your everyday hustle of just trying to, how a work environment, especially a movie environment, can be sometimes very taxing and demanding. Everybody's on their toes and just stuff. But somehow on this project, we just bonded and just became friends. And we've kept that friendship, all of us that worked on that film. And it's been amazing. And so for me, the takeaway is that it is possible to be the best and endure the pressure and the tests that of the film sets can bring, but still create a bond and a family out of all of this. Yeah. So I'll tell you, love.
That's true. It's always good to, meet the right people that you're on the same common ground and you have the same objectives, and it makes the atmosphere more light and more united, which it's very true. Thus becoming a family,
Yeah.
with its ups and downs.
There's always ups and downs. Yeah. We just need to learn how to live with it and
Absolutely.
enjoy the process. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really very interesting movie, and congratulations, because it just a film that I was very much into it, and it was just unbelievable. The characters and how, they completely fooled me, because first of all, the production was done 70% in Canada, and I had no idea. And the characters, I mean, they had this beautiful accent that, they did not seem that they were Canadians, or Africans who've lived in Canada all of their lives. So that was a very good job with the casting. It was unbelievable.
Thank you. Thank you.
So most of the casting was all Canadians, or was just there were also very few Kenyans?
Apart from the two leads, and David, the guy who flew in, the military guy from the US, yeah. I think the rest of them were Kenyans. Like every other person was Kenyan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you gave some work as well locally.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a lot of crew as well from Kenya. The AD was Kenyan. The lighting team was Kenya. A bulk of the equipment was also from Kenya. I think we only came in with the camera because we wanted to be consistent with what we filmed in both countries. But the lighting team, the costume, wardrobe, Kenyan. A lot of work went to like a huge number of the crew and the cast from Kenya.
We're locals.
Yeah, locals. We also had a producer who was also like from Kenya as well, Aki. But we lost her last year. She died last year to cancer. So it's been
tough.
Tough. Yeah.
That's really good that you managed to make this production, give possibilities and opportunity to the local citizens, and then also bring in know-how from outside as well, and both united in
making the film.
Yeah, it made a good movie. I mean, congratulations. Anna, do you have another question for Charles?
Ultimately, what did you want to see as an outcome for you? What matters the most? And then if you could let our audience know where they can watch it as well.
Okay. I think the film is on Prime, Amazon Prime now. We also have some channels showing the film in different parts of it. It's in North America, It's on CBC Gem in Canada. We're trying to get distribution for it all over Africa, but it was showing on Safaricom in Kenya, Safaricom app in Kenya, and they're still working on distribution for the rest of the world. But yeah, if you want to see that, I think you can find it on Amazon Prime right now.
But I think Amazon Prime in some countries,
In
because
some countries, yeah.
exactly, because living in Italy, I was unable
You
to
couldn't
find
find
it.
it.
I only found it in the UK.
I would ask the distributors if we have anything showing in Europe, and I'll share with Anna.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah,
Thank
share
you.
with Anna as well. Okay. So you enjoyed the film yourself, and what was it for you? Like, what would you say? Why would you recommend this film to someone?
Why would we recommend this
Why
film?
would you recommend this film to someone? Just asking. What was it for? What made the film for you? What made it special for you?
Well, what made it very special for me was the story behind this young boy who's a genius. He's in a rural town, and he has very little possibilities, as far as electricity is concerned, as far as the everyday let me call it everyday wealth that we have, water, electricity, a warm house, and a cooking machine, basically. So coming from an environment like that, that did not stop him. He was just naturally born genius. And there are so many youth out there that need to be recognized, and that need to be, they need to be given a spark. And so you can do it, you can be resilient and accomplish something. And the thing that I liked the most was also how women in Africa, the culture is changing, and women are coming more and more out in the open, and they're very strong, and the word means a lot to the family. So it's not anymore the woman that is hidden, and there's the man, of the house who says everything, and whatever he says is a law. That's not happening. So it was good that also to see that the mothers that you had mentioned, and just simply the fact that, if you put your mind to something, you can do it, You can do it. You need very little resources, but do not stop.
The mind is the biggest tool. We need to use it.
Very true.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's very motivational. I think our youth needs this kind of resilience and inspiration despite the challenges, right? Because they're gonna come at you. I did want to ask you before you leave us, like, anything you want to add in terms of your own, personal fun facts, or even just current work, future projects you can share, anything like that. And at this point, you're also welcome to drop any websites or anything you want us to post alongside this episode.
Okay, my LinkedIn, all my social media profiles are Charles Uwagbai, first name, last name. Email is charlesuwagbai@gmail.com. So everything's at Charles Uwagbai. I'm working on a couple of projects. I just finished a film as well. I don't know if this is the right time to announce it, but I'm hoping to get it out in the festivals at the end of summer. And then I'm working on another film with Joel, who's also the writer. It's a film about repatriation of African art and stuff. We co-wrote the script, and we're hoping to get funding for it soon. So that's probably my next big thing. I also have a couple of scripts I've written with a few friends. They're under pre-production. When the Beat Drops is an Afrobeat dance movie. Um, I'm working with another a black producer, Natasha Vassell, on that as well. So there's a few projects on the line. Hopefully we get to see more stuff soon. Yeah. And I'm open to work as well. So if you're looking for an African producer or African director, I'm here.
Love it. Yes.
Thank you.
That's awesome to hear, and definitely a beautiful film. Just in terms of even how you were able to tell the story, right? Even though maybe it was a Joel's initial story, like the way you used the visceral, connection
Yeah.
to the place, like you said, and like the family and what that means to the community was very much present in the story.
Yeah.
And like obviously as a Pan-Africanist, I feel it's an illustration, right? You are originally Nigerian, Canadian,
Yeah.
you're filming in
Kenya.
right? Stories written by another Canadian, and it's like about a village, and it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter as long as the core essence of what you're trying to communicate,
Yeah.
you find the right people, right? And the right team. So
Yeah.
that's what I got but then so many other takeaways. That's really why, as you were saying, about we recommend the film because we don't give it all away. But as you do watch the film, there's just so many layers to it, right? That's a
I
lot.
think one thing we've missed out is the beauty of the place itself, the beauty of Africa. I think I try to show a lot of landscape and because just going there, it's so magical. If you when you wake up in the morning and just see the way the sun rises, the fresh mountain dew, oh,
The
breathtaking.
colors, yeah.
The colors,
Yeah.
everything, you need to go there to see for yourself. I don't know if we even did justice, but I try to capture all of those moments in the film.
I think that's exactly what I was referring to. Yeah,
Yeah,
story beautifully told. So thanks for
yeah.
sharing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time too. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Charles.